Hi, Parker Pearson. I'm the Vice President of Marketing for Advanced Logic Industries. And I'm putting together a quick recording to introduce people into using video conferencing, particularly if you've never used it before. So instead of this being a tutorial about the ins and outs of a particular platform, I wanted to put together just sort of some of the best practices that I've learned using video conferencing day in and day out for many years. There are some easy ways to make this a really great experience, and such a great experience that you might continue to leverage video conferencing long after this health concern has enabled us to travel more and be out in public more often. But in the meantime, as people are looking to leverage video conferencing to help move business along, I've got some ideas to help you make the transition in. So if you've never used a video conferencing system before, hopefully this will set you at ease. There's ways to make this really easy. So let's start with prep. One is definitely setting aside a space. If you're working from home, or maybe you're working from home for the first time as an extended option, now you're setting up your workspace and trying to make sure that there's adequate facilities for what you need. But one of the things I would definitely stress is, if you're going to be doing video conferencing, be thinking about the backdrop and be thinking about the lighting. And it makes a big difference in the video quality, because everything that makes a video conference work is engaging the camera and the lighting. And when you have that, then the party on the other side can see expressions. It's just much more clear. It's much more like the real thing. So getting the lighting right, it isn't hard, but it does take a little bit of thought. So the most common problem I see in people starting to adapt video conferencing is not thinking about their backdrop or their lighting. Make sure that your backdrop looks like something that's fairly professional, if you can. Hopefully you're not working in a shed or a basement or someplace like that, but that you have somewhere that you can work. And then you don't want to have a window behind you. And here I'm going to show you what happens when you do have a window behind you. Is that what happens on the screen is you'll get this this big flash of light. It's very distracting, and it's going to wash things out. It's going to be hard on the eyes. And if you're sitting right in front of that window, it's going to turn you into a cutout. So that's not productive at all. Now, that's not to say you can't have some soft lighting maybe behind you that comes from a lamp. And again, you'll want to experiment with this, but you can maybe put some of these kinds of things on. So I'm going to turn a light on here. So you can see, experiment with your video and see how that looks. I often will have that light on. But the most important lighting that you can have is to make sure that you have lighting in front of you. And you don't have to get super fancy about it. And the tools that are available online are very cost effective. For $50, $60, $70, you can get a professional light ring. And if you Google or look those up on Amazon, you can find, light ring. They're fairly inexpensive, and it makes a tremendous difference in the quality of what you see. So I'm actually lit from the front with a light ring, and I'm going to show you what it looks like when I turn my light ring off. Not as good an experience. You can't see my face, you can't see my expressions. You can sort of see my mouth moving, but it's just not as good. So having a light in front of you makes a huge difference, and it'll really elevate your game when it comes to adapting video conferencing. So we want you to be successful. Another thing to think about having within arm's reach are tissues and a bottle of water. Just like you would for a meeting, you never know when you'll need those, have those handy. Another thing that I recommend, using an set of earbuds, and wired, not wireless or Bluetooth. Wireless and Bluetooth, they can drain a lot of battery, and you're never sure when they're going to die. And if you're in the middle of a meeting and all of a sudden you're hearing your Bluetooth giving you the low battery signal, unless you've got multiple earbuds and microphone, all of that, it just, I've found that they don't hold the battery long enough, I do a lot of meetings this way. So if you're not doing a lot of meetings, yeah, you might be able to use like your Apple earbuds or a Bluetooth headset, and that might be fine. But just be aware, you've got to know what your battery life is and check it maybe before each meeting to make sure you've got enough to get you through. Otherwise, I really recommend using a wired, these are cheap wired earbuds. These are the ones that came with a prior Apple device, and they work great. Next tip is definitely minimize the distractions in your environment. So if you can be somewhere with a closed door, I highly recommend it. It just keeps things from interrupting your noise and kids and family, inadvertently interrupting an important conversation. So the other thing, lastly, is just dress professionally. Don't forget to do that. I bring it up because you'd be surprised how many times I've been on meetings with people and I've asked, like, hey, let's, we flip on our video, and I think they weren't thinking about what they were dressed that morning. And I always try and dress as, however I would dress to meet with you if I were in your office and coming to have a meeting with you is the same way that I am on camera, at least from the waist up. In some cases, I'm wearing a very nice shirt on top and a pair of jeans on the bottom, but you're never going to see that I'm wearing jeans. You're just going to see how I look on camera. So think about how you look on camera. Maybe even look at what you're wearing. You're definitely going to have your favorites, but I don't think you have to get very fancy about it. Just make sure that you look professional on camera. So let's talk about scheduling. A couple of things that you might want to think about. One is as you schedule an appointment to meet with somebody, so a lot of people use Microsoft Outlook. You can actually integrate your video conference meeting link into the meeting, your invitation. So definitely take advantage of that. They all have it. And it's usually a very simple little widget that you install once and connect it to your account. And then you're able to, from inside Microsoft Outlook, you're able to not only schedule the date and the time and who you want to have in the meeting, but in the body, it will actually, when you click the button, it will actually insert, here's all the details of the meeting, and it has a great big button of like, join the meeting. Makes it really easy and everything's in one place. I would definitely get comfortable with that, find that, get it installed, get your IT to help you if you need to, but it's just a really great productivity feature. The other really big bonus is if you have to reschedule a meeting, it automatically reschedules the accompanying WebEx with it. So that makes it really easy. And if you want to look like you've been doing this, like a pro who's been doing this for a long time, when you schedule a video conference using your conferencing system for the location, use the @ symbol and whatever, in some cases, like I use Cisco WebEx. So I will say that the location is at Cisco WebEx. And then they know that to look inside the body and they're going to get a link. Or you might say at video conference call or something like that. So it lets the party at the other end of the line, at the other end of your invitation know how you're going to be meeting, where you're going to be meeting. So instead of having a physical meeting space, you are going to be creating a virtual meeting space. It also definitely makes the, at least Outlook happier. It often will come back to me. If I have not specified a location for a meeting, it'll remind me and say, you haven't specified a location for your meeting. So people do expect as well to see a location for the meeting, and it just clarifies that, makes it really easy. So the other tip for your sort of before you actually launch the meeting is to be on time. And that matters whether you're the host or the person participating. Each has a slightly different reason why. A lot of these video conferencing tools are pushing updates multiple times during the day. And so it's conceivable that you might run a video conference in the morning and you have a meeting, and then you open it again in the afternoon, and it's saying, hey, I got to push a piece of software. It doesn't take long, but I would allow about a minute. And it can be the longest minute of your life if you're late and you're trying to get into the meeting and the system is saying, hold on a second, I need to update. And it won't let you in until it does. It doesn't let you skip. So just let yourself have a meeting, have a minute to do that. And so maybe if your meeting's at the top of the hour, make sure that you're starting to log in maybe a minute in advance to allow for any download. And so as the host, if you're the host of the meeting, open the meeting about 2 minutes early. That way, if your participants, in that case, they may start a little bit early to, like, in case there's a download, but they didn't need the download that day, or maybe at that point they didn't need it. Well, then they're going to show up a minute or so early. Worst case scenario, then they're going to get a note that says, hey, the host hasn't opened the meeting yet. The meeting will start as soon as they do. It's not the end of the world, but it's a nice touch to be early. So let's talk about a couple of best practices once you are up and running with an open meeting. And I'm actually recording this from within a WebEx meeting. So one is, whenever possible, turn off your IM and chat. That might be on your desktop, and it might be also on your smartphone that is probably sitting next to it. It minimizes distractions, and the other thing is that nothing is worse than having a message pop up while if you're the presenter and an IM message pops up that's probably not appropriate information to have been shared with a particular audience. You don't want to be broadcasting and be surprised by this incoming message. So just shut down those applications for the duration of your meeting. So as you kick off, take a breath, relax, smile. You're going to look great, especially if you took my tips on getting the lighting right. You're going to look fine. Don't worry about it. Say hello. Make sure everybody can hear you. Do a quick audio check. And that's really simple. You don't have to say check, check, check or anything like that. You can just say hi. And, can you hear me? Is everything, and as you're making connections, if it seems like somebody's not connecting, then you can drill into that in a little more detail. A common way for people to express that they see their mouth moving, but they're not hearing them. You just cup your hands around your ears, and that lets the person visually know at the other end that maybe they've done something like they haven't turned their audio all the way up, or they don't have their microphone plugged in all the way, or something like that. Speaking of the audio, I definitely recommend using the integrated audio option on these video conferencing systems instead of saying, oh, I'm going to have it call my desk phone or my cell phone or something like that. It makes it a lot harder to keep your focus face forward. I found that when I was using a desk phone, I would turn my head because it's just a habit. You're used to facing the audio input device that we're all really common, we've used for years, a telephone on speakerphone. That's a temptation. I wouldn't do it. The sound quality is not going to be as good. It's not going to be as personable. And a lot of these video conferencing systems have great technology that when you do the integrated audio, when one person speaks, then the video switches to them being the primary person on video. And they have this really cool video switching technology that makes the meeting, again, it creates a much better experience, but it only works when you're using integrated audio. It doesn't work as well if you're using a call-in, having it then call in and it's not connected. Just plug in a wire and go. You're good. So, and definitely, as we talked about, face the camera. In my case, I have a little green dot that's my video camera on my Mac that I'm recording this on. So even if the person at the other end of this conversation is shy and doesn't, or maybe doesn't have a video device on their computer, I at least share mine. That way they can see me. It creates a much more engaging experience, even if it's one-sided. I promise you, it makes a big difference. But about 8 times out of 10, if I have my video on at the top of the call and other people do not, once I start engaging, it's like it creates permission for them to come on video. And they usually will say, I'll go ahead and I'll flip on my video. And it makes all the difference in the world because now you're communicating face-to-face. You're really taking advantage of this face-to-face video. Big difference in the experience, and it can make a big difference in the outcome of your meeting, particularly anytime you're having conversations around something sensitive, anytime that you can incorporate the body language and the visual cues along with the audio track, it just makes for a richer experience. Set yourself up for success. Use your video, and you'll show other people that they can live and tell the tale. It's okay. The last couple of tips I would offer is to practice sharing your screen. I'm actually going to go ahead and I'm going to wrap up here by showing you a couple of things within the Cisco experience. But once you learn one platform, they're all very similar in terms of how they work. So sharing your screen is on this third button. It says share content. And all you do is you click on it and it gives you the options. You can share, in my case, I have two monitors going. I have my laptop and then I have it connected to an external monitor. So it's asking me, do I just want to share one screen or another? Or do I just want to share a particular application? Just as a tip, as you're learning to do this, don't be fancy, share your screen. It's easier to just share the entire screen. Just make sure that your screen, that you've minimized other things that are on it so that you're, again, not sharing something that's inappropriate, but definitely go with just screen sharing. Once you get really comfortable with it, then you can get fancier and share individual applications. But sometimes if you're switching between content and you forget, like I'm sharing something in Word, but now I want to show you something in a spreadsheet, I have to go back and I have to actually also share the Excel application, or all you're going to see is a big black box when I switch that. So that's all something that as you use the platforms, you'll get more comfortable with it. And then you can record a meeting like I'm doing here, and you can see the little recording button. I'm going to get rid of, there we go. And lastly, a common thing that you might want to do is the extra features that are here in the more options. So two features on this menu that I use a lot. One is the ability to lock a meeting. So in my case, I use my own conference. I don't schedule a unique meeting every time. I have like a video conferencing bridge. So it has the advantage of it always has the same address, but it also has the disadvantage that it always has the same address. Once somebody knows my video conferencing address, they can, they can come. It's a meeting room. And if I'm having a meeting with somebody else, if I don't have that meeting locked, they can barge right in. Now I will see that they come in and I can handle that. And that's sort of a 201 or a 301 level of how to handle that. Be for another conversation. But an easy way to handle that is once you have all your people in the meeting, just go ahead and lock the meeting. And that way, if anybody tries to come into your meeting, it's going to say so-and-so is asking for access to your meeting. And you can either say, yep, I'm going to let them in, or you can ignore them and they can sit out in your virtual waiting room and you can deal with that after the meeting. And the other thing is that no matter how often you provide the meeting link, inevitably somebody is going to ask you for it. So an easy way to do is come in here and you can copy the meeting link and then you can send that off in an email or you can send it in a text. Really easy. But those are the two things on this menu that are really common. So that is really the basics, I think, that would get you started, get you going on being successful with video conferencing. If you have other topics or questions or sort of more advanced things that you'd like to know about, I'm game. Get in touch with me, Parker at ali-inc.com. If you found this useful, I might record another one and maybe we tackle some of the more advanced subjects. But I just wanted to help people as they're having to scramble and adapt to using these types of technologies, that there's sort of a primer on helping you get going.